First up, Antti from Cozify. Please join me on stage.
You.
So Cozify, as I understand, is providing an easy and intelligent service to simplify the use of smart devices at home, right? And yeah, you're going to tell us a bit more about that, and then we'll follow up with some questions. And by the way, if anyone in the audience might have questions, just raise your hand, and I'll make sure that we get a microphone for you. Antti, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, Cozify is a company that sort of starts from two directions. First of all, the traditional home automation has been an expensive hobby. It has taken a lot of money and professional help to get home automation up and running. You have to do it at the time of building the house. However, the IoT devices that enable much the same functionality are cheap and attractive. They are easy to use, but always result in an app in your smartphone. So Cozify has taken a rather practical approach of creating a hub that connects to the devices using various radio technologies and protocols. One of our key sort of consumer value propositions is that they don't really have to select the protocols in advance, or they don't really have to know about it, because we support the most important ones of them right from the start. Another thing is that there has to be a user interface that is beautiful and easy to use. We believe at the moment we have one of the easiest ways of creating a rule in the between these devices, so that if there's one event from a smart device or from connected device, that can actually trigger an action in the other device. The basic scenario in there. And we have received a lot of good feedback from the user interface, from the usability, from the visitors that have been at our booth, and I naturally invite you guys to come over there as well.
So Antti, I heard that you're into hardware. You obviously made the hub. You're also into software with an app. And you also sort of try to help your customers. So you're going a bit in the service direction as well. Now, when I first got into startups, one of the things that I heard very often is focus on one thing, right?
Yeah.
And you're obviously focusing on three. Or is it one thing behind it? Like, how does this all go together?
Yeah, it's a good question. However, in this day and age, it's so that it is actually very easy to, let's say, focus on the core assets that you have. In our team, we have a great team of software architects that have designed the structure for the actual software, and how the rule engine is separated from the devices and the radio technologies. That's the technological asset that we have. However, on the hardware side, we can rely on people that do circuit board design and radio interface design for their job, and that's one of the parts that, or one of the few parts that we have actually outsourced. So we know what we want, and there are lots of partners in the world that do these parts for a living. So hardware is not that difficult. That's one key asset. That's what we've been trying to say to investors that are sometimes afraid that hardware brings unnecessary complexity to this business and prevents scaling. It doesn't. There are lots of good examples of businesses that have scaled even with hardware.
So could you say that your core competence is in hardware then?
No, quite the opposite. So it is really in the in making the software architecture robust and then at the same time the user interface beautiful and pleasant for not only for the enthusiast husband, but also for the wife and the kids and everybody.
Yeah. Okay. So you've obviously joined us. Well, maybe not obviously for only for those who've read the excerpt previously. You came from Finland, down here to Seabed. So I'm just curious, in a few words, is Finland very similar in terms of startup culture to places like Germany or maybe the Silicon Valley? Is it different? Are consumers maybe more ready to try your product? What do you feel about this?
Well, Finland is a country with a bit of a startup boom at the moment. So in that sense, it's good to be a startup. We get support from various governmental organizations fairly easy, and in that sense, it's a good environment. However, one must say that it's very different from the Silicon Valley environment, whereby the intensity of collaboration can be much higher with the finance parties that venture capitalists and so forth. So in a way, it is different. And we also know because of our market research that there are differences in adopting these technologies among countries. Finland is actually a little bit of a latecomer. Germany seems to be ahead in this sense.
So it's good to have you here, and I hope that you already found and still will find some customers or potential customers during the event. We're going to welcome the second startup on stage. Okay. This is Lhings, represented by Jose.
Hello.
Hi. So Jose, Lhings is a social cloud platform, right, that enables users to manage, share, and interact with virtual things they like. Okay, so what exactly is that? Tell us a bit more about it, please.
Okay, Lhings is a platform, it's a cloud service that you can use to connect anything to the internet, and then you can use, you can remote control it. You have services like uploading data from sensors to the cloud. You can also share the devices with other people. I mean, if you, for example, have some smart home devices and you want to share the access you have to them with your family or friends, you can also do it very easily. But we are also focused on the cloud service we provide and on providing the tools and the SDK so that any manufacturer or developer can add their device to our cloud. So in that sense, our solution is a pure software solution. We're not doing hardware, but our approach is to partner with manufacturers and anyone that can add devices to add value to their devices by connecting them to the internet, and partner with them to make it possible. So. At the end, our cloud service can be used for anyone to connect the devices to the cloud.
So your vision is in the direction of building one shared platform that works for everybody, right? Or what do you imagine? Like, do you want to collaborate with other companies that are producing sensors, other startups, bring it all together in one platform? Is that your eventual vision?
Our vision is that at the end, as you know, there is no common standard for the Internet of Things. So at the end, you will either have some standard will win, or either we will have to have some kind of interoperability between platforms. We are like a layer in the cloud that bridges between all those solutions so that you can access a wider range of devices that you could not access having only one standard or only one platform. That's our approach.
So of course, to get to that point, you still need to get the first customers. So you need to get the traction. At what stage are you with your startup?
Well, right now we have around several thousand users actively. And they are building, they are a lot. They are from the maker community, but there are also users that are using some devices they managed to connect by themselves to the internet. And we also are partnering with many companies that need to build connectivity solutions. And they do not know how, and they then ask us to help them, and we help them to use our cloud solution to connect them to the internet. So it's worked like an on-purpose project. So
right. Maybe as a closing question, what I would like to ask you, I also asked Antti, what do you see as your core competence? Is it in the software, or what do you think sets you apart?
Our core competence is software. We provide our cloud service, but we also provide SDKs for several platforms. So we offer for manufacturers a complete solution, a complete development solution from the hardware to the cloud, so that they can very easily and without a great effort, they can build a connected solution.
OK. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you can stay on stage with us.
Well,
We're going to get the third startup to join us, which is Muzzley. And from Muzzley, we have here Eduardo. And Muzzley, your applause.
Hello.
Muzzley is, of course, an app that gathers connected devices in a single place. And then there is something about machine learning as well. And I think you'll tell us more about that.
Sure, thank you very much. So in order to work on this space, the Internet of Things, we need to respect it. This is so huge that is not a work for one company or two companies only. So company needs to figure out what is their space, what they do better. So that's why we figure out that what we need to solve is the interaction between the human and the machines with the human. We don't have hardware, we are a software company, focused exactly on this interaction. So of course we started with one app to all connected devices. We have 18 mainstream brands in our ecosystem. And after 1 year of using our app, what we figure out is that you really don't want to take the phone from the pocket, unlock the phone, put your passcode, search for the app, run the apps, look for the bulb, and turn on the lamp. This is not the way how we are going to interact with our things. That's why we started to work 1 year ago in machine learning, in intelligence, meaning that when you are interacting with your device, with your home, and your home with you, we are learning with your behavior. And with this learning, we create knowledge. With the knowledge, we create the prediction of what? Of your actions. And with the prediction of your actions, we make suggestions to you. Meaning now that when you are leaving the office, you can receive a suggestion from Muzzley, say, do you want me to turn on the heater when you are arriving? Do you want me to open the door garage, open the lamps? And of course, this will depend on your daily life. After some while, after Muzzley understands that you always say yes to the suggestions, means that you are synced. And then it asks you, hey, do you want me to move this to automation? In the end, things just happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Something that struck me as very interesting about your startup is you're located in Silicon Valley, and now you've come over here to Cebit, right? Which is maybe not the most common thing that a Silicon Valley startup would do. I'd be really interested to hear what motivated you to come to Cebit and to Coden.
Sure. So this space, Internet of Things, is not being built only in Silicon Valley. This is also being built in Asia, also being built in Europe. And when I go to Silicon Valley, well, it's a full ecosystem. There are a lot of startups, a lot of companies. Most of the companies have at least a research center there. We receive a lot of visits from decision makers, and this is week after week after week. There's no space such that in Europe. That's why these kind of events, Code Beats, are really very important to join all the ecosystem. More, Coden, I compare Coden as when you arrive to Silicon Valley, well, it's huge. You are lost there if you don't have someone to help you, to connect people. And that's why I compare Coden to incubators, accelerators. So that's the reason why we are here.
Yeah, and we're glad you are. And something that I would also be interested in is you seem to have a big focus on the technical integration. How about user design as a, let's say, USP, a unique selling proposition? You know, the best design. We heard it, for instance, from Cozify, that they put a lot of emphasis on that. Or is it the technical integration? What do you think, for you guys, what do you focus on?
Sure. So as I told you, we need to respect the IoT, so we need to focus very well. And we are focused in the human interaction. So that is our focus. Of course, in the very beginning, we needed to make it happen. And to make it happen, we needed companies in our ecosystem, big companies. So we needed to build the technology. After that, we needed to build the ecosystem in an easy way for adding more and more devices. And we did that. And now, currently, for your understanding, we take 3 days to bring new devices to our ecosystem. And now that that is solved, we are executing human interaction. So,
Yeah. OK, thanks very much. And please take a seat.
Thank you.
While we welcome the fourth representative of a startup here. So with us today is Jeffrey from reelyActive. Please come on stage, Jeffrey. Maybe you can move
I feel that I want to block you.
And you're also in the smart spaces, but you take a slightly different approach to it, right? And you're going to tell us all about it, I presume.
For sure. So reelyActive is about creating smart spaces, which are very complementary to the technologies you've seen on stage here. The smart space is a contextually aware space. It's aware of its occupants, who are they, what are they, and taking as much information as possible from what's happening in the real world in real time to be able to pass it on to, say, a connected home platform. This person is in this room right now, and this is what they like. This is how they like the lights, temperature, factors like that. Or, for instance, a smart retail space, knowing about who is the client, who is the employee, what can you do. So in a nutshell, what reelyActive does is we make sensors. So we're a hardware company. These sensors can detect the wireless devices that you're carrying. If you want to come by our booth at 35 after, it's a pretty interesting demo. You can see all the devices that we're sniffing. It's quite impressive here at Coden. And then you can connect that with people's profiles that they share online. So that's us. The software part of our platform is open source. So we're a hardware and software company operating a service.
Great. Well, let's talk about the customer side of things. At what stage are you with a startup? Do you have customers? Is it B2C, B2B? Tell us a bit about it.
Sure. So reelyActive has been around for over 3 years now. We had our first customer in 2012, and we've dealt with lots of customers and partners in different capacities. Most of what we sell today are small systems for pilots. People are trying to figure out exactly how they can create a smart space for their environment. We've actually shipped hardware to 6 continents, so there's some systems floating around Europe, and through the Americas, Asia, even Africa. We haven't hit Antarctica yet, though. That's our final challenge. And we've just started now with the SaaS model, which is really great. So we've got a big customer on board that uses our service as a service, which is great for us now, growing from being a startup that's figuring out exactly what is its product, its market, and all that fit, to now having very defined customers and being able to focus really on just what we're good at. Which is making technology that really understands what's happening in the real world, can really locate devices well. And we work with partners then to extend our reach.
OK, great. Thanks. So let's all get together here for a few more minutes. So something that struck me is how very similar the basis seems to be among many of you from where you're coming, right? And of course, there are differences in how you get to the customers or the specific product, sometimes with hardware, sometimes only software. But what I would be really interested in at an event like here, do you guys also talk and do you find some opportunity maybe for a collaboration? Could there be some strength in getting together as startups, or is it strictly separate? Who wants to answer?
Well, I think it's clear that we need to collaborate. There are obvious opportunities for that, for example, with reelyActive, and that's a sort of an obvious choice. Naturally, all of us should be interested in the technology that they create, but also the other way around. For example, in some cases, Lhings and Cozify hub that connects physically to the devices might actually make sense to combine. So certainly. You know, like Mr. Muzzley just said, we can't conquer IoT alone.
Yeah, in my opinion, I also think that an ecosystem only with startups will not work. It's very, very important to collaborate. I completely agree, but I believe it's very important to bring corporate companies, big companies, to this role, because one of the things that we know is that in one startup, or rather, in 10 startups, one fail, or I believe this is the number, right? So if we start to work only with startups, what can happen is that work after 1 year can stop. So I agree with you, but I only add the big ones to the ecosystem, of course.
You guys are all obviously at the edge of innovation, so to speak. You're coming here with products that are, really pushing the boundaries of what we maybe thought already exists. And something that I think can be very interesting is to convince actual customers, especially in the B2C area. So for instance, the people sitting here, why should they maybe buy your product, your service, your software? The same probably with B2B customers. It is not that easy to sell something that is very much based on a vision. So how do you guys actually go about closing those deals, getting to the customers? Do you pick one specific use case and then you try to sell on that, or how do you do that?
I can talk a little bit about our story because it's a very interesting one. We actually knew very well our space, which was real-time location systems, being able to locate objects in the real world. When we started reelyActive, we were convinced that we were going to go and get these customers that we knew about, had relationships with. We had a better business plan and everything else. We had good technology, and it didn't work. People just didn't. They needed it, but we couldn't finally close that deal. And the surprise we had was when we were in an accelerator in a co-working space, we bought a TV, and we gave everyone the opportunity to take a little tag, and whenever they walked into the space, they'd show up on a screen. And we did it as a gimmick just to show what our technology could do. And ironically, that's actually our best-selling product right now, and you've got Fortune 500 companies paying us good money to use it. And I would have never thought that was the use case, but it turns out that we had to tweak a little bit what we were doing to really tickle people's imaginations, and that's what got them excited. And in a way, we're sort of tricking them into buying a solution that really is solving a problem for them. Just they have to learn that they have that problem first. That's the irony.
Yeah.
Do you have that TV screen here?
Actually, we do have that TV screen here. So if you go by our booth, you can see us, you can see a grumpy cat, you can see a moose, and a few different things that are in the space right now. It's actually on the internet. If you go to smartspaces/cbit, you can find it.
Yeah. That's a fantastic introduction. I think that also goes for the other 3 startups. If anyone here says, wow, that sounded pretty interesting, I still have some questions, I want to know more about what this technology could mean for me or my company, by all means, stop by the booths. They're just behind this stage, around the hall. And you can also pick up a map at the info stand, if you like. And I would like to thank you 4 guys for joining me on stage.
Okay.
And have a great time at Call It In.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.